All right, today we're going to dive into the really fascinating ideas from Dr. Kelly McGonigal's book, The Joy of Movement, and it makes a profound argument that we've been looking at movement all wrong. It's not just about health or fitness, It's something way more fundamental to our happiness, to our connections with others, and really to what it even means to be human. McGonigal herself calls the book a love letter to movement and also to human nature. And that phrase, a love letter, just nails it, doesn't it? Because this isn't about guilt-tripping yourself into exercising. It's a total re-examination of our relationship with physical activity. The book argues that movement is this powerful source of joy, hope, and this great word she uses, fellowship, a deep sense of connection to other people. It's like we're rediscovering something that's been inside us all along. So that leads us right to the core idea of the book. We have to fundamentally rethink why we move. The whole goal is to stop seeing it as a chore, just another thing to check off a to-do list. Instead, we should see it for what it is, an essential pathway to a happier, more meaningful life. Okay, so where does all this joy actually come from? Well, this is where we get into the biology of it all. The book makes this incredible point. Our brains and our bodies literally evolved to find pleasure in being active. And we're talking about something that goes way, way beyond just the runner's high. It's like this deep, primal blueprint for happiness that's basically written right into our DNA. I mean, look at these descriptions. Mechanical intoxication, or 2 Red Bulls and vodka, 3 ibuprofen, plus a $50 winning lotto ticket. Wow. People really struggle to put words to this feeling, don't they? It's obvious that intense movement can create this incredible pleasure, but the real question is, why? Why does this happen? And the answer, according to McGonigal, isn't found in some fancy modern gym. No, we have to go way back, to the ancient savannas of East Africa. So, let's travel back in time. Picture this. About 2 million years ago, climate change completely transforms the African landscape. The forests shrink, and these huge grasslands open up. To survive, our ancestors suddenly had to travel so much farther to find food, to hunt, to scavenge. And that's when natural selection just kicks into high gear. It started favoring the bodies that could go the distance, the ones that could endure. You can see it right in the fossil record. Thigh bones got longer, feet got stiffer, better for pushing off the ground. We were, quite literally, being built to run. And get this isn't just some ancient history lesson. This capability is still alive today. There's this incredible story in the book from an anthropologist named Herman Ponzer. He's out in the field with the Hadza people, right? He wakes up one night to the sound of lions roaring nearby. And then he sees the Hadza hunters walking back into camp carrying a fresh antelope that they had just pirated from that same pride of lions. In the dark. I mean, can you imagine? That kind of endurance, that courage, that's what's hardwired into our legacy as humans. Okay, so we've established that our bodies are literally built for this stuff. But that's not the whole story, not even close. The joy of movement isn't just this solo biological thing, it's also profoundly social. In fact, some of the most powerful magic happens when we stop moving alone and start moving together. The book actually has a name for this feeling, collective joy. And you know exactly what this is. It's that incredible high, that sense of belonging you get from moving in sync with other people. Just think about a packed dance floor where everyone is on the same beat, or a crowd at a concert singing along. The secret sauce, the one key ingredient that makes it all happen, is synchrony. And once you start looking for this, you see it everywhere. Lab experiments show that dancers feel way more connected when their moves are in sync. McGonigal tells this really moving story about teaching a yoga class on September 12, 2001, the day after the attacks, and how that shared breath and movement was like a salve against all that fear. On a totally different note, think about military drills. They create this personal enlargement, this intense camaraderie. Even modern fitness classes like SoulCycle or Body Pump, they're tapping into this ancient human need by adding synchrony to exercises that used to be totally soul. So what's happening in our brains when this occurs? How does it work? The book uses this super cool psychological experiment to explain it, called the rubber hand illusion. Basically, if someone strokes your hidden real hand and a visible rubber hand at the exact same time, in perfect synchrony, your brain gets tricked. It starts to feel like the rubber hand is actually yours. Well, synchronized movement does something very similar for social connection. It blurs the lines between me and we. It kind of fuses your sense of self with the group. And that's what creates that incredible feeling of connection. And this feeling of power and connection, that leads us to the next big idea, that movement can be a powerful tool for building resilience. When we face physical challenges, we can literally change the story we tell ourselves about what we're capable of. We can rewrite our own narrative, turning a story of fear into a story of triumph. A really great example of this is the psychology behind those crazy obstacle courses like Tough Mudder. The designers make this really smart distinction between terror and horror. Terror is the fear you feel before you do something. Horror is how awful the experience actually is. Their goal is to design obstacles that are super high in terror, but actually pretty low in horror. And that gap, that's where the magic happens. That's the moment facing your fear turns into feeling like a hero. And there's no better real-world example of this hero's journey than the story of Bonilla. She was paralyzed from the waist down, and she felt like her own body had completely betrayed her. You know, physical therapy was all about these tiny, slow, frustrating movements. But then, she found the gym. And in the gym, she discovered a way to feel powerful again, a way to take back control. She wanted to get her name on her gym's wall of greatness, and her goal was just incredible. She was going to land 100 punches in just 30 seconds. Just pause and think about that. This wasn't just some workout. This was a raw, explosive demonstration of her power. It was her way of fighting back and proving to herself and to everyone what she could really do. And here's the payoff. When she finally got her spot on that wall, she chose the quote, "Don't quit." And she said something so powerful. She said before, she would just see those words. But now they made sense. After everything she'd been through, after pushing her body past its limits, she hadn't just read the words, she had lived them. Okay, so this all brings us to the big question. How do we actually apply all of this to our own lives? Finding your own joy in movement really is about connecting to something deeply human. It's like this inheritance that belongs to every single one of us. And it's really important to remember, this joy isn't always something you feel right away. The book makes a great point that it's often an acquired pleasure. There's this great story about a 53-year-old guy who hated, and I mean hated, exercise his entire life. And then one day he was just shocked to find himself feeling actual pleasure during a workout. Our bodies and brains have to adapt, you know? Sometimes the joy is waiting for you, but it takes a little time to uncover it. And finally, movement can be such a powerful source of healing, especially when we need it the most. The book tells the story of Susan Hurd, who started running to cope with the depression she felt after losing her son. It didn't just help her find her way back to life, it also opened up this brand new way to connect with her daughter. As she puts it, running with her daughter became one of the most joyful things in her life. So when you put it all together, if movement is our primal source of joy, our path to connecting with others, and our own personal hero's journey, then it really is a shared human legacy. It's not an obligation, it's an opportunity. So the only real question left is the one you see right here. How will you claim your joy?